Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Log Show here on YouTube. I am Logan, and we are back. It is a somber day. It truly is, as the New York Knicks have lost for the first time since the NFL draft last night, losing to the Spurs in a nail biter yesterday. And man, I'm gonna have a lot to talk about on that game. The officiating was rough. The Knicks just didn't play their type of game. But yeah, I mean, nobody said that this one was really going to be easy. It is the NBA Finals at the end of the day. So if we sat here and thought, oh, this was going to be a cakewalk through a team that just, did happen to just win or just beat the former reigning defending NBA champions after being down 3-2 with a guy who's 7'5" and the face of the league. So did we think it was going to be easy? No, not at all. But here we are now settling in at the position of the Knicks are up 2-1 and just lost game 3 in the Garden. Not only that, we have the Yankees right now not struggling on the field, but obviously major news. I spoke about it. If you guys do watch Split Decision, me and Vin spoke about it on Sunday. Yeah, the Yankees right now are in a position where they do not have Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge will be out for the next month with a cracked rib. Will be out more likely or not until the All-Star break at least. So we have that going for the Yankees. We're going to do a little bit of an outlook there to see what do the Yankees have to do for the next month to replace the offense of a player like an Aaron Judge. So we'll talk about that. Not only that, this is the weekend. It is finally here for us fight fans. UFC Freedom 250 is this Sunday, June 14th, on our President Donald Trump's birthday. Whether you like him or don't like him, it is on his birthday, and we will be seeing a lot of good fights. It is not a deep fight card, only 6 fights on the card, but nonetheless an exciting one where every fight is and will be a major implication for the future of the UFC and what is gonna like pound for pound rankings, champions, history, all of that. So my predictions for what will happen on Sunday, UFC 250. I cannot wait for those predictions to talk about that as well. And for those of you who are not American football fans like me, but fans of the other football, the World Cup fixtures start on Thursday. So we have World Cup fixtures on Thursday, and the World Cup we have a whole opening weekend. USA opens up on Friday. First game in MetLife is on Saturday. So I'll talk a little bit about the World Cup, what I'm excited for, at least personally when it comes to the World Cup. I might not be able to stream it all today. Luckily, we're only like 5 minutes in. I have no clue what's going on. If whoever's watching, if you in the chat could tell me if this is going well or not, I have no clue. But yeah, so that's where we are. So obviously, the biggest news, the top of the card, the thing that I will sit here and rant about for more likely or not most of this show and then try to squeeze everything in at the end is the New York Knicks. So the New York Knicks, obviously, as anybody around New York knows, because they are the biggest news, everybody's watching them, everybody has a tab on them, whether you want to or you do not want to. The New York Knicks did lose Game 3 last night, their first game back in the Garden, the first finals game in the Garden since 1999, and the Knicks came out and disappointed many, losing the game 115 to 111. And now the major point that I think everybody on the internet is talking about with this game that I will definitely talk about, but I don't want to sit here and have it as my first point off the rip, like I'm going to blame the loss on the Zebras, because I'm not. But the officiating was a problem, and it's something that we are going to talk about at some point during this rant. But it's not what I want to kick it off with, because I will also bring up this point as a diehard Knicks fan. The game was on the table for the Knicks, despite the officiating, however you want to call the officiating, whether you want to call it they let them play, if you want to call it uneven, whatever argument you have for the officiating, I'm not enjoying the officiating of this finals, honestly, on both sides. But besides that, the Knicks did have an opportunity to win this game. It's not like this game wasn't on the table for the New York Knicks. It was. It was a winnable game for the Knicks to have, and they didn't pull through. And there are reasons why, outside of the officiating, why they weren't able to win this game. There were many reasons. When you look at what went into this 13-game win streak so much for the New York Knicks, to start, last night it felt like we reverted back to a Tom Thibodeau-style offense. Am I the only one who dare say that? Like, I felt like we had this offense where we saw Jalen Brunson sit there and kind of just dribble the ball out throughout the entire shot clock over and over and over again. You know, you saw it in the stats. Jalen Brunson plus minus. He was -9 for the game. And it felt like I'm saying, it felt like last year's offense where it was let Jalen Brunson dribble the absolute air out of the ball. Just dribble till we have 8 seconds left on the shot clock. And once Jalen Brunson can't find a shot with 8 seconds left on the shot clock, now we have to scramble for a random shot, and it's not going to be there. And that's what it felt like was going on last night. It felt like we were sitting there and trying to run this offense strictly through Jalen Brunson, whether Victor Wembanyama was or wasn't on the floor at that time. And Jalen Brunson shooting more shots than Josh Hart and Karl Anthony Towns combined is crazy. And I'm not going to blame just one player, so I'm not blaming Jalen Brunson either. I'm blaming the New York Knicks as a whole. The way that they played last night was an absolute embarrassment for what they have put up in the playoffs so far. It was an absolute embarrassment for the progress that they have made throughout this season to play team basketball, to show you that they can beat you in so many different ways through so many different attacks offensively. You know, you had Mikal Bridges last night, who has been such a key part to this that 13-game win streak that you had going on. Go 0 for 3 from 3. Go 1 for 5 from the field. Only took 5 shots, only having 2 points. With Landry Shamet, who has been a huge part of this entire run, go 1 for 7 in 23, or 1 for 8 in 23 minutes, 1 for 7 from 3 with 3 total points. It's those types of players are going to have to step up. As much as Jalen Brunson is captain clutch, and honestly, even in the fourth quarter, kept us in that game with some ridiculous shots, the other players are going to have to continue to step up, and that is going to go by the scheming. So I go back and talk to Mike Brown in this sense. Mike Brown, I don't know what you thought last night, but I don't know why you took something that wasn't broken and tried to fix it going into MSG. And maybe it wasn't your fault. Maybe it was strictly the players' fault, and they felt the pressure of the guard, and they felt the pressure of this being what many felt like a must-win game for the New York Knicks to be able to close this out at home and close out this historic playoff run in historic fashion by possibly winning 15 straight playoff games. And now that is no longer on the table, and that is okay. So what happened in that game, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like you saw it in the way that the Knicks came out, at least in the first half, especially in the first quarter. I think the pressure was on the Knicks going into this game. I think everybody in the world looked at it and goes, oh my God. You know, I even said it multiple times on both of my shows. Oh my God. The Knicks going back home up 2-0? No way. No way. No way the Knicks go, like, no. Back to New York and you got a 2-game lead? There's no way. The Spurs are going to get swept if they're going, the pressure of the Garden now, down 0-2. So with that sentiment, I feel like the pressure shifted, if you get what I'm saying. I feel like the pressure of last night's game shifted onto the Knicks there of everyone going to that game to see the Knicks take a 3-0 lead. The first game back in the Garden since 1999, and the Knicks are up 2-0 with a chance to virtually end this finals, with a chance to virtually win your first championship in 53 years. All that pressure was on New York last night, and the Spurs played like they had no pressure in the world, like they were ready to spoil a party for the New York Knicks. And it just like I keep saying, when I go back and I look at the stat sheet throughout this game, Mikal Bridges only having 2 points is a big problem, especially for the way that we play offensively. Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns combining for less shots than Jalen Brunson total is a problem, especially when you have Victor Wembanyama off the floor. And I'm watching possessions with Karl-Anthony Towns on the floor with Victor Wembanyama on the bench, and you're not taking advantage when the Spurs have their tallest man on the floor is Luke Cornett or Julian Champagny. You know, these are players that, like when you have Mikal going, it opens up the floor so much. When he has that mid-range shot dropping and he's hitting when his shots when he needs to, and he's able to get open in the corner for three and have that sneaky 15 points, have that sneaky 12 points for the New York Knicks, it changes their offense completely. Having that extra. Because he genuinely is. You cannot deny that Mikal Bridges is a shot creator in his own right. He may not get the opportunities that he gets to have that he used to, get back in Brooklyn and in other places where people were trying to develop him into their number one option. But Mikal Bridges is 100% a shot creator in his own right. The way that he is able to create space on the block and pull up for that mid-range shot that we know so well for Mikal Bridges to hit at a consistent rate is a huge part of that Knicks offense. It opens up the floor so much, and it opens up the opportunities for him to then, take that drive, you now kick it, and you sneak into the corner. Other opportunities for Mikal Bridges. And when you have him only taking 5 shots, only 5 shots out of Mikal Bridges, that's not good. You only got 10 shots out of Karl-Anthony last night? You need more than 10 shots out of Karl-Anthony Towns when I'm watching consistent sets of Victor Wembanyama not be on the floor while Karl-Anthony Towns is on the floor. You can't be having that happen. I mean, it's simple. And in a second, I'll switch my rant to my rant about the officiating throughout this series. But it really is a very, very, very simple thing that I am bringing up here and I'm talking about here. And that simple thing is the fact that we did not, the New York Knicks did not play their brand of basketball last night. They played a ragtag, nervous brand of basketball that they had not played throughout this entire playoff run, that we had not seen. Even in those 2 losses in Atlanta, we had not seen the New York Knicks play like this since the start of the playoffs, where they were nervous. They were running around. Early in the game, they had absolutely no rhythm. They were just chucking up shots, it felt like, at times. Panicking late in the shot clock, holding the ball early in the possession to get a bad shot late in the shot clock. Something that I have loved of watching the New York Knicks throughout Game 1 and Game 2 was the ball movement, was the team basketball that they were playing. Minute after minute, no matter what the score was, down by 14, up by 14, down by 20, down by 3, up by 5. It didn't matter the score. When they were in San Antonio in games 1 and 2, they knew what type of basketball they had to play. They knew they had to play perfect to be able to beat San Antonio in San Antonio. And you have to remember that it's not just you have to be that good to beat San Antonio in San Antonio. You have to be as good as you were in Game 1 and Game 2 to beat San Antonio in any building, at home, on the road. If San Antonio is playing like they played in Game 2, like they played in Game 3, they are not an easy team to beat, whether you're at home or on the road. There's a reason why this team was able to go into OKC and win a Game 7. There's a reason why this Spurs team was the number 2 seed, fighting for the number 1 seed. There's a reason why this Spurs team played us in the NBA Cup earlier in the season. This Spurs team is very good at basketball. And I think a lot of us as Knicks fans got so hyped in this 13-game win streak that a lot of us forgot how goddamn good the Spurs are. The Spurs hadn't lost 3 straight games all season. Them not losing Game 3 is not crazy. Them winning this Game 3 is not an insane concept for us to put together. We were just so hyped going into the game, having the opportunity to go back to the Garden up 2-0 and have the opportunity to virtually close out this series, that us as fans, and I feel like in the locker room it happened too, we got jaded and we got happy and we got confident, we got comfortable coming back home up 2-0 against a team that is very, very good. It doesn't matter what building you're in. This team is good when they play the type of basketball that they are able to play. When they play their best brand of basketball, they are very, very difficult to beat. You have to be just as perfect as they will be, and you have to cause them to make that one mistake. You can't be the team making those constant mistakes and trying to fight back consistently against this Spurs team. It's not going to work out for you. You have to be able to play your brand of basketball. Get all of your offensive pieces rolling. You can't just do this through Jalen Brunson like you tried to last night, and he dribbled that shot clock to 9, 8, 7. Couldn't get a shot. Kicked it out. 6, 4. Try one more pass. 3, 2. Try one more pass. And we're chucking up a buzzer-beating shot clock shot. That happened too many times last night. And you are not going to be able to beat this Spurs team playing that way. Not one bit. Not one bit. You lost by 6 in a game where the officiating was as bad as it's been all series. Game 1 was the most evenly called game throughout this series. I could even argue that Game 1, if I was a Spurs fan, I would have been a little upset, right? Game 2, there were a lot of interesting calls. If you guys go back and watch me on Split Decision with my boy Vin, if you guys don't watch it, go check it out. I'll leave the link in the description. But when you look at Game 2, right, and the way that Game 2 was being called, I'm not against physical basketball. But if we're going to call a physical basketball game, call it both ways. Right? I don't want to get closeout flagrants on Jalen Brunson on a Julian Champagnie 3 when he barely closed out into his... Yes, by the rule book, that's a flagrant. Because of Zaza Pachulia back in the day. But I don't want that. And then while 2 plays before, I'm watching Devin Vassell throw an elbow and run him over like a running back. Or I'm watching Victor Wembanyama grab him by the back of his head, palm the back of his head like a basketball, and throw him to the floor. And there was no call. There was Victor Wembanyama took his head like this and threw him to the floor, and there was no call. You had Luke Cornett grab the rebound, ran through Josh Hart, and there was no call. It's okay. All right. I get it. You're not going to call it. But then don't call it when Jalen Brunson hits Vassell's hair in game 2 on a 3. Don't call it when Julian Champagnie lands on Jalen Brunson's fucking toe. Don't call it when Wemby shoves Mitch and Mitch shoves him back. Call it both ways. And again, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to look in this camera and be like, oh, the Knicks lost because of the refs. No, the Knicks still had opportunities to win that basketball game 110%. The New York Knicks still had many opportunities to win that basketball game despite the officiating. And yes, there's officiating on both sides, but like, for example, the inbound where they wanted to review the play and they try to get Dylan Harper in on the sub to review the play to try to extend time, and they didn't get it off in time. They didn't get the sub in time. The Knicks inbound the ball, and the refs just stopped the play, and like nothing happened. The Spurs had 6 people on the floor. That by rule, anytime, if the ball is in play and there's 6 people on the floor, that is a flagrant foul. At least a tech, if not a flagrant one, every single time. And not only did you let the Spurs get away with doing that, they didn't get the challenge off, and for some reason, you still took a second and a half off the shot clock, so, as if the inbound happened. And I am one who will sit here, and I am a die-hard football fan. I see it all the time. I am a Saints fan. I know what it is like for an official to rip a championship opportunity from your palms. I know what it's like as a fan, and that's not what's happening to the New York Knicks. But this is some of the worst officiating I have ever seen with my own 2 eyes in an NBA Finals in my entire life. I'm not very old, so I'm not going to act like I've seen a whole lot of NBA Finals in my lifetime. But I have never seen one officiated so poorly as this year's NBA Finals. The refs need to get an absolute control on the game. You heard it last night in the broadcast as well. It's becoming the Wild West out there. Like I said, you have Wembanyama literally grabbing Brunson by the back of the head and throwing him to the floor. You got Luke Cornett trucking my players left and right. You know what I mean? Luke Cornett trucks Josh Hart, and they called a T on Josh Hart for pushing him back, which I get, but call it both ways. Call the double T. Same thing as the Mitch call in game 1. Call the double tech. Call it on Wemby too. If you're going to call it on both sides. The Knicks won game 1 and game 2 despite the bad officiating. They were still had a chance to win game 3 despite the bad officiating. The officiating is not the reason the Knicks lost the game last night. But the officials are doing an absolute piss-poor embarrassment of a job for the NBA. And honestly, a finals where they've had more eyes on them, the most eyes on them in a finals probably, I don't know, I have to check the viewership numbers, but this is probably the most viewed finals since what? COVID? 2016? The whole world is infatuated with the fact that the New York Knicks are in the finals. And this group of officials is embarrassing the NBA. They are embarrassing. The absolute embarrassment for the National Basketball Association. What is happening right now, if I'm Adam Silver, I would be ashamed. I'd be ashamed if I was Adam Silver, and this is the performance that my best officials are putting on in, like I said, arguably the most watched finals. There's definitely more eyes on this year's finals than there was last year. Game 1. Yeah. No, yeah, I was correct. Okay. Yeah, I was correct. Game 1 was the highest rated finals opener since 2018, not 2016. Excluding the COVID season. Since the 2018 finals, the last time we saw the last time we saw Warriors Cavs was the last time that we saw this big of an audience for an NBA Finals. And this is the performance that your officials are putting on, Adam Silver. It's embarrassing for the National Basketball Association, for the National Basketball Association Officials Association, or Referee Association, whatever it's called, for basketball officials across the league. This is an embarrassment for the NBA, and it needs to be fixed immediately. They need to call Game 4 a lot tighter. They need to come out on the internet and say something about that Wembanyama foul, right? When I got clips online, and I remember saying this to myself last night, and I couldn't pick out exactly what the ref said, and I saw a few clips later last night. There's a clip where Mike Brown literally goes to the ref, and he goes, so you called it a travel over here, but a foul over here. And the ref goes, oh, shit, you're right. Which, like, I'll give it on the official for being honest. At least he's being honest. He's not arguing with Mike Brown, like, shut up, Mike. No, I didn't. Like, he's like, oh, all right, I'll fix that. And he's taking note of it. But this has to be fixed. The officiating of this NBA Finals has to be fixed. We're 3 games in, and I'm assuming it's not going to end in 5. I'm going to be honest. I don't see the Knicks winning 2 more straight. I see this going at least 6. So get it together now. The NBA officials have to get it together now. Not later. You can't come out after the series and admit that you guys had a bad series. You have to get it together now if you are the NBA officials. You have to put it all together now. I mean, luckily Jalen Brunson stayed healthy because there's another team in New York, speaking of getting beat up and all of that, the Yankees are beat up, man. The Yankees are in a weird, not beat up, but beat up situation where, like, you now have Judge going on the IL. Hopefully you have Dominguez coming back soon. He's doing his rehab assignments, but you have Judge on the IL. You have Wells just went to the 15-day IL. You're still waiting for Max Fried to come back. Like I said, you have Dominguez currently going through rehab. So, I mean, the Yankees have been a beat-up team up and down throughout the season. I mean, we started the season waiting for Rodon and Cole to come back. The minute that you get both of them back, you have to rush one of them back because you now lose Max Fried. And you know, you're in that situation, but now you also are losing Aaron Judge for a month. And I don't think it's news to anyone that is an impact that is going to make an impact on the New York Yankees, especially offensively. Where that offense is going to come from, though, for the New York Yankees is going to be an interesting thought because what we have seen in the trend over the 3 games that we have played so far since Judge has gotten injured. A lot of people I feel like you would have expected, you would have said Ben Rice would have been the key factor of stepping up a little bit more offensively, even though he's having an absolute career year. He currently leads the team in home runs. He leads the team in batting average. Ben Rice, can he get any better? I don't know. So other people are going to have to step up, and you saw that last night with Cody Bellinger able to get a big 2 RBI single in the top of the 10th last night against Cleveland, in the top of the 10th last night against Cleveland. You saw Belly have a few good hits against Boston, so he has stepped up since Judge has gone out. You see Jazz has stepped up since Judge has gone out, even using Judge's bat in the Red Sox series, which that's a fun thing. Outside of jerseys, because obviously you need the right jersey number. Jazz, maybe Jazz should just borrow, like, just not bring his own equipment to games. Like, wear someone else's cleats, wear someone else's socks. Go throw Giancarlo's pants back on. Use Judge's bat. Like, you, Jazz is Jazz is slowly progressing throughout the season, and I'm very happy to see it, as he gave himself very high expectations going into the season, saying that he wanted to match Shohei's 30-30 of last year. And then obviously, we see he goes the whole first month and a half without a home run. He struggles for that first month and a half to 2 months. But he has really started to pick it up a lot, especially on the offensive side of the baseball. I think he's hitting the ball a lot better over this past month. And hitting a lot more efficiently when we need him to get on. I think he's becoming more of... I speak about this a lot when I bring up Jazz Chisholm, about he really needs to be that piece, that glue piece for that New York Yankees lineup. Of when he slips into that 5-6 spot of the lineup, he really is that glue piece that extends that heart of the lineup, that one extra spot, if we can have him going. Especially if you have players like Trent going, who has also stepped up in the absence of Aaron Judge over the past few games. But especially when you could get someone like Trent and Jazz going, you have a solid, even without Aaron, a solid 5-batter stretch right there that is scary if you're a major league pitcher. You look at Paul Goldschmidt, who's been hitting well. You look at, if Trent's on that game, you look at Trent, Paul Goldschmidt, Ben Rice, Bellinger, and Jazz as like your top 5 usually for your lineup as the Yankees. Sometimes you squeeze in some other players up there, but usually those are 5 of the 6 of the front 6 as your lineup. So if you could extend that heart of the lineup past 4 to 5 with Jazz when he's playing well, it's such a big part for that Yankees offense, and the Yankees offense that we know. But I think everybody knows where the problem lies for the Yankees as we get close to the trade deadline, and it's good that Cashman came out and said that this Judge injury does not redirect anything that the Yankees were planning on approaching or attacking for the trade deadline, because what they need to approach and attack is relief pitching and a catcher. Right now, your 2 catchers are J.C. Escara. Your 2 catchers are J.C. Escara and Ali Sanchez. Ali Sanchez, I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. We've seen 3 games of it. You haven't seen much out of 3 games of Ali Sanchez. But I'm excited to just see what a righty at bat at catcher can do for a Yankees lineup. If it can just not only, even if he can hit just as good as a Wells or a J.C. Escara, him just being that righty bat, adding that fold to a pitcher, having that adding a fold to opposing bullpens when they are, maybe someone's 2 up in a pitch count, and Ali Sanchez is about to come up. It's the first righty batter that the Yankees have started, the righty catcher that the Yankees have started since, I want to say it was 2020. Jose Trevino was the last game he started for the Yankees. Last game that Jose Trevino started was the last time the Yankees had a righty catcher in the starting lineup. So, I mean, where they're at right now, you have won 3 of your last 4. You had a rain delay, a rain cancellation, postponage against the Red Sox the other day. So you ended up sweeping them in that series and took both games, which was great to see. You beat Cleveland last night. After a bad game 1 in Cleveland, you were able to beat them 2-1 the night after. And yeah, like I said, when you look at the Yankees, I mean, you were in a situation with you need a lot back, and you need the rotation to get back healthy. If you could get Max Fried back soon, it would really be nice. He began throwing again on May 25th We talked about it on Split Decision. He seems to be throwing off of a mound very, very soon. They're planning to have him on the mound throwing, which gets you right back into rehab assignments, etc. They need relief pitching. You need to fix that. You have Bednar, and I describe David Bednar as one of the most streaky closers I have ever experienced for the New York Yankees. And that's what he's been throughout his career. He's even been called down to the minors before in his career. David Bednar has been an extremely streaky player. So am I confident in Bednar? Yes. But does he scare me at times through weeks and month-long stretches where he just can't seem to close a game? Yes, those get scary. Right now, he's on one of his stretches where he'll put two men on, but he'll get the save. He'll get the game done. He did it last night, and he's done it before. But players like Camilo Doval and just a couple other relievers that I'm blanking on right now in that Yankees rotation that just haven't really been getting the job done. It's something that you need to definitely address as the Yankees. I mean, nobody's expecting you to have an ace as a reliever. They're relief pitchers for a reason. They're not closers for a reason. They're not starters for a reason. They're mid-relief pitchers for a reason. But I think you can go find a guy who you can trust a little bit more in that mid-relief position than maybe the guys that we currently have outside of, if you don't have Tim Hill able to throw that day, you really don't have a guy that you could fully throw out there and really, really trust to get the job done. But I don't know. The Yankees are doing well. When we look at what's going to come up in this next month leading up to the All-Star break, I think you just have to play your brand of baseball. I think you have to settle in where you're at, that you're injured. And, I mean, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all for the New York Yankees. I mean, right now you're sitting half a game. Technically, you're tied with the Rays. It's weird because you've played two more games than Tampa so far this year. So you're sitting at 39-26, while they're sitting at 38-25. So you have virtually the same record, just with a different win percentage because you've played the two more games than they have. But right, you're sitting at tied for first in the American League / American League East. You're not a team that I'm worried about like I have been with other teams about making the playoffs. It's not a point where I have to be at with the New York Yankees. It's a point where we have until the trade deadline to try to fix what will get us over the hump, to get us to beat a team like the Dodgers, like the Rays of this year, like how the Phillies have been playing as of late, how the Brewers have been playing this year. To be able to beat those teams if it comes down to it in a 7-game series, and that team will most likely or not be the Dodgers, you have to have late game pitching. You have to be able to have a complete roster. So I know I'm hesitating and trying to think here, but what I'm kind of getting to with that is the New York Yankees have a month, healthy or not to have to win games. You don't have to win games here if you're the New York Yankees. What you have to do is you have to address your weaknesses and maybe go get a new catcher, maybe go get a Shea Langoliers, or an Adley Rushman, or a righty bat catcher that's going to make an impact. Go get a relief pitcher that's going to go make an impact like you did, or at least attempted to do last year. Maybe it didn't work out, but you still took the shots for it last year. So I wouldn't hate for the same. I need you to do the same this year. That's what I need to see in this next month for the Yankees, is those rumors to really start heating up. And as we get towards the All-Star break, as we get towards the trade deadline, really see the Yankees be full-on buyers at this trade deadline and go fix the issues that we have roster-wise. I think if we can stay completely healthy, if we get completely healthy, if you fill those holes, we are just as good as that Dodgers team, and we can beat them in a 7-game series. I genuinely believe that for the Yankees. I think you can do something absolutely magical. 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 What else do we have to talk about? What do we have to talk about? Shout out Cody Rhodes. Actually, speaking of Cody Rhodes, that's Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. You think he'd be there this weekend? You think Cody Rhodes is going to be at UFC 250? Like, you think the American Nightmare is at UFC America 250? Trump will probably be there. Trump was at the game last night, too, which I didn't love. I'll talk about that a little bit before I get into UFC 250. I didn't love Trump at the game last night. I felt like it was selfish. I feel like everybody on the internet wants to put their opinion on this, so I'll hop in on the train of how I feel of Donald Trump at the game last night. At the end of the day, am I going to sit here and argue that Donald Trump is not a Knicks fan? No. Donald Trump, if you go through history before he was the United States, before he was the president of the United States, he has gone to many Knicks games. He is 110% a very big Knicks fan. That is not what I'm denying here of why he would want to show up. It's more of a sense of it. With the game being the game that it was, I feel very 50-50 on getting mad at the president for going to that game, because on one sense, I feel like it was an incredibly selfish move to create that type of hustle and bustle, to create that type of security, to create that necessary that much congestion and presence, to add that on top of the congestion and police presence that was already going to be around the Garden. And there at the time, I felt like was a selfish move from the president of him being like, well, I want to go, so I'm going to go. Like, so I feel like that's an incredibly selfish move, and there's no reason why he can't just enjoy the game on Twitter from the comfort of you know, his quarters in the White House, while he's doing all this other stuff with UFC 250. I think there's enough going on where it felt selfish and out of place for Donald Trump to be there. But on that argument as well, I think that the people who would have ran into the biggest issues outside of the MSG party getting canceled because of which is part of what I'm saying, I do think that the people who were affected by the congestion and all of that, and would have been the most affected by it, were therefore not allowed on the premises with them banning the MSG watch party, because those type of people who would have been affected heavily by the presence and the congestion and that were people who were priced out of that game. It was the diehard Knicks fans who were priced out of that game. It was $10,000 to walk into Madison Square Garden last night. It was $10,000 to just walk in and get the worst seat in the stadium last night. We were sold out. We were priced out. The people were all of that who would have caused all that were priced out. But I still think it was an incredibly selfish choice, especially when you have all of not only the political world going on that you have going on as the president, but you also have another sporting event that he is going to be present for and happening on the White House lawn this weekend in UFC 250. Now, what do I expect out of UFC 250? Let me start here. Justin Gaethje, I'm sorry, but Justin Gaethje, you're dead. You're dead, Gaethje. Against Ilya, Gaethje, you're dead. Not only that, the co-main, Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane, you're dead. You're wasted. Both of you, wasted. You're done. Both of you are done. I'm going to break down why I feel like that, but I think, let me start with Ilya Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. I'm a huge Justin Gaethje fan. I think getting this fight to unify the lightweight title is a fight that very much needs to happen. I think it's a fight that definitely deserves the main event of the White House card. I think that this fight has the opportunity to be an absolute banger. But now when we talk about Ilya Topuria, right? When we talk about Ilya Topuria, we're talking about a man who knocked out Charles Oliveira, knocked out Max Holloway, knocked out Alexander Volkanovski. Those are his past 3 fights. Ilya Topuria's last 3 fights are a knockout of Charles Oliveira, a knockout of Max Holloway, and a knockout of Alexander Volkanovski. 3 of the not just 3 bona fide, 3 of the greatest fighters in their weight class. 2 of the greatest lightweights of all time, and arguably the greatest featherweight of all time. Knocked out all 3 of them. And we're not talking about like when we say knockout, you know what I mean? We're not talking about like a ground and pound TKO. We're talking about they lights went out. Charles Oliveira didn't know what happened to him. Max Holloway got knocked out for the first time in his career. Volkanovski got put to bed. I love Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is a talent. It is, again, a UFC Hall of Famer. I love the way he fights. He fights with so much energy, and he fights in a way that he's willing to put his body on the line. There's a reason why he fought and has won the BMF belt before, because he truly is a bad motherfucker. But Ilya Topuria is different. El Matador is different. And El Matador is looking to put Gaethje's lights out. And I think he will. I genuinely think Topuria has a very, very good shot of winning this fight by knockout. I genuinely do. I think he's just the best pound-for-pound fighter right now. He's younger. He's faster. I think we are at a point where now we are at this is Ilya Topuria's time to prove that he arguably is the best pound-for-pound fighter. And the person that he is arguing with is the person on the co-main event who is ready to put Cyril Gane out as well. I think that fight can get a little bit more interesting. I do think that fight is more of a toss-up. As much as I hit Cyril Gane with the wasted 2 seconds ago, I will genuinely say that if there is anybody that Alex Pereira has fought that I think will have the opportunity to take him down and control Alex Pereira on the floor, it's Cyril Gane. I do think that this is the first fighter that Alex is seeing that genuinely will have the opportunity to get that done. I think Volkov was the second closest, but Volkov is not nearly as good as a wrestler as I feel that Cyril Gane is. So I think when you look at this fight of Pereira versus Gane, it's can Alex going up a weight again, trying to become the first three division champion in UFC history. Is Cyril Gane able to use a weight advantage that he is used to take down Pereira and control him on the ground, just stay heavy on top of him and win the fight that way? I think that is a genuine chance and opportunity that is what happens in this fight. But again, we are talking about a man, and Alex Poatan Pereira, that one punch, any one of those punches can put you out or put you on shaky legs. And when you're on shaky legs and he smells blood in the water, all it takes is one combo and you're done. Because he hits with extreme accuracy. He hits with elite speed, accuracy, and the most power out of anybody that I have ever seen fight in the UFC. So that is why I feel like Pereira wins that fight. But who knows, man? Going down the card, we have next we have Sean O'Malley versus Amian Zahibi. Again, I do not know a lot about Zahibi. I have not watched a lot of Zahibi, so I have to go back and really do a breakdown of both of these dudes. But Sean O'Malley needs to get back in the game, man. So he's going to come out with guns ablazing. He's going to come out more locked in than I think we've seen him in a while. Sean's last fight was when he won by decision against Song Yadong, which I think was a test that he needed. I think he needed a break from the whole Piotr Yan, Merab Dvalishvili, Sean O'Malley triangle that's been happening. And I think he's going to get a break from that until we get our until the Merab Yan rematch happens. So until then, we're going to see Sean consistently trying to prove that he deserves another title shot, and that's going to happen against an Amon Zahibi, who's at 15-2 or 14-2. I apologize. Who's a very good fighter in the bantamweight division, but somebody that I genuinely do not know a lot about. I've heard his name before. I've seen him win fights before, but I've not really been clocked in to Zahibi. So my prediction will go Sean, just based off what I know of the two. But this is one that I do have to do more research on and break down a little bit more. Chandler, Mauricio Rufy. Chandler, man, he's just, outside of turning Tony Ferguson into Abe Lincoln of 2 years back, he's a pit bull. I can't deny that. He's an absolute pit bull. He's an absolute dog, and he's willing to put his body on the line, but it doesn't result in wins for him. And against someone like a Mauricio Rufy, who is so methodical in the way that he fights and throws every strike with a purpose, and is able to not only put somebody out, but wobble somebody and take them down and get a submission, I think Mauricio Rufy, with an aging Michael Chandler, is just a stepping stone for Mauricio Rufy to really enter his prime and enter the next step into the UFC. Bo Nickel versus Kyle Daukaus. I think they wanted to make this because they wanted to have an Olympic level USA versus USA wrestling match on this fight on this card. So that's where you get the two young guys in Bo Nickel versus Kyle Daukaus. I lean Bo Nickel. I think Bo Nickel is going to be very hyped for this fight, but that one's a toss up out of all of them. Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia, I think, is the easiest fight to pick on this entire card. I don't think Steve Garcia stands in any chance against Diego Lopez. I've said this multiple times. I think there's only one man in the featherweight division on Diego Lopez's level, and he happens to be slightly above Diego Lopez's level, and that man would be Alexander Volkanovski. I think them two are here, and the rest of the featherweight division starts here. I think them two are just so elite above everyone else, and I hope we get to see an opportunity of Diego to genuinely have a title shot. I think I would love for it to genuinely happen of him getting over the hump of Alexander Volkanovski, but who knows if it'll happen that way. But I think against Steve Garcia, he has a good chance. And then a fight that will make a lot of noise and a lot of news. Two heavy hitters, Derek Lucas, Josh Hoykett in the heavyweight fight of all heavyweight fights. Two dudes who just want to beat the absolute living fuck out of each other. I don't know. I've only seen one Josh Hoykett fight, and it was the Curtis Blaydes fight. And going from that, I think he can beat Derek Lewis. I think he looked like a light heavyweight in a heavyweight ring against Curtis Blaydes. He was faster. He had better technique. He had pinpoint accuracy. He had an amazing fight against Curtis Blaydes. So with what I saw in that fight, I feel like he can get the nod over Derek Lewis. But Derek Lewis is also a dude that we're talking about that I personally would love to see him rock the shit out of Josh Hoykett, the way that Josh Hoykett or however you say it, has been acting in the media and all of this and being an asshole towards Alex Pereira, who Alex Pereira honestly just seems like one of the most peaceful dudes in the whole entire UFC. I don't like him, so, but from what I see, I'm gonna take Hoykett in that fight over Derek Lewis. And then the last thing we have coming up, starting on Thursday, last thing I want to talk about, we're talking about America. We're talking about freedom. Well, America we, the United States, are one of 3 countries that is hosting the World Cup. And boy, do we not care, because that starts on Thursday, and I have not heard a peep. It starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. On Thursday, we have Mexico in the opening match in Mexico City at Mexico City State. I believe Stadium Azteca. Mexico opens up against South Africa as the opening game at 3:00, and then USA opens up in LA against Paraguay, 8 p.m. on Friday. In between those 2 games, so Thursday you get Mexico South Africa at 3 p.m. and then at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time you have South Korea versus the Czech Republic. On Friday you will have Canada versus Bosnia at 3 p.m. and then the USA debut versus Paraguay at 8 p.m. And then on Saturday, you will have a full day of World Cup football for you guys for the first time. Not just 2 matches. We will have a full day starting at 1 p.m. in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. We will get Haiti versus Scotland. Then at AT&T down there in Jerry World, we will get at 3 p.m. Australia versus Turkey. 5 p.m. in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, we will get Qatar versus Switzerland. And then 6 o'clock at MetLife Stadium, we have Brazil versus Morocco. And then on Sunday, we will get another full day of some football, some soccer. Sweden versus Tanzania at noon Eastern Time. That one is in Monterrey, Mexico. Germany versus Curacao at 3 p.m. in Houston, down there at NRG Stadium. Colombia versus Algeria, 5 p.m. in Miami on Sunday. And then Japan versus New Zealand down there in Jerry World on Sunday night to end World Cup opening weekend. So that is what you guys got packed for this weekend. Obviously, also Game 4 tomorrow night in Madison Square Garden. UFC 250 on Sunday. This is a fun one. That is all I got for you guys today, though. Thank you so much for listening to The Log Show. Like, subscribe, do it all. Tune in. Obviously, tune in on the Spotify. I've yet to get a viewer over there on the Spotify. If you guys like to just listen, if you don't have the time to watch, if you want to just listen, I post them every day. They're a day behind, so obviously, like, this week's show goes up on Wednesday, but I post them on Spotify every week, so feel free to tune in over there for the audio-only versions of The Log Show. Also, tune in Split Decisions on Sundays. Those are always fun with my boy Vin. We have a good time. Tune in. Check out the last episode that we just recorded. Posted that on Sunday. We previewed UFC 250. A lot of what I talked about today, we also talked about over there on Sunday. But that is all I got for you guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Logan. This is The Log Show. Like I said, like, subscribe, follow me everywhere. Thank you guys so much. Peace out.